Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. I'm so happy you are able to join me tonight. This is Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and I'm excited to be able to share with you tonight a really fun fold. Just trying to make sure everything is in my camera the way I want it to be. I think that looks a little better. Perfect. All right. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to show you is the cover of the new annual catalog that will go into effect in May. And this is so exciting as we end one year and begin a new year. So I am very excited about this coming out. Unfortunately, I can only show you the cover until the official run date. So let me just give you a little bit of information. First of all, these have been arriving in mailboxes this week. I received mine from Stampin' Up! 2 days ago, and yesterday I received the one. I always put one in the order that I send out for my customers, and I received mine yesterday. So I am thinking all of my customers are receiving them yesterday, today, tomorrow. So be looking for it in the mail if you are a regular customer of mine. If you don't get one in the mail or you haven't ordered from me recently and you'd like to get one, please just message me or send me a comment in under this video, and I will do my best to get one to you. I'm still waiting for my catalogs to arrive, so it may take a few days before I can get them out in the mail. But I'm very excited to be able to share this with you. So that's the first thing. Today, I am going to be sharing with you an Aperture Z-Fold Fun Fold card. So I always try to make one ahead of time, just so that I know what I'm doing. So this is a very simple card. This is the one I made as a practice. It's just a little thank you card. I used the paper, the Designer Series paper that goes with the Playing in the Rain suite, which is in the mini catalog. And when you open it up, so the Aperture is, of course, the circle hole. And then when you open it up, it has a Z-fold, and the fold comes out like this. Kind of fun. So that's what we're doing today, but we're using a different stamp set and a different set of paper. So this week I'm using the Seaside Bay stamp set. This is a great stamp set. I love it. It has so many advantages with all of the beautiful seaside images. It comes with a set of matching dies. I think I have this upside down. It comes with matching dies. It has dies that will die cut things that are inside, different stamps that are inside this set, and it also has die cuts that will cut out some other images and at the same time emboss them. So, for instance, I have this scallop shell, and you just get it up to the camera. You can see that it's been embossed as well. So that is something to think about if you're interested in purchasing this particular bundle, because right now it is in a bundle and it is 10% off when it goes live in the new catalog. This is one of the sets that's carrying over. It will not be a bundle anymore. It's only when the stamp sets come out the first time that it will be a bundle. So we'll be using that today, so let me just set that aside. And then we're also going to be using the Designer Series paper by the Bay with, here are 2 sheets, with this card today that I am making. And the one thing I want to mention is that the Designer Series paper, though, is going to be retired, and it's not going to be part of the new catalog. So that is something to really think about. So let me talk about what you need for paper, and we'll do the scoring, and I'll mention that as along the way. So I have here a piece of basic white thick cardstock, and this is measured at 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to score it at 4 1/4 right down the middle. So there's the first piece. To make the Z fold inside, I have a piece of Night of Navy, and it is 5 1/4 by 8 1/2, and I am going to be scoring this at 4 inches on one side, and I'm going to turn it over and score it at 2 1/4. And I need 2 pieces of designer series paper for the front of the card. These are going to be layering on each other. So you need one that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and you need another one that is 5 by 3 3/4 inches. And then afterwards, you're going to need 2 pieces of another piece of designer series paper. I'm choosing the Night of Navy with just, I don't know if you can see, there are some waves on it. If you can see that sparkle, there you go. You should be able to see it now. And you need 2 of these, and these are going to be 2 by 5, so 2 inches by 5. So that is something else you're going to need. And then finally, you are going to need another piece of just basic white cardstock, and this measures 5 by 3 1/4. So that's what you need for today. So let's get started. I'm going to start by doing my scoring. So let me get my scoreboard up. This is one of those tools that I can't live without. I love it. It just makes it so easy to do my scoring. So I'm going to score this piece at 4 1/4 inches. There we go. And then I'm going to take my Night of Navy cardstock, and as I said, I'm going to score at 4 inches. And then I'm just going to turn it around and score at 2 1/4 inches. So I end up having one piece that is 1, 2, 3, 4 inches here, and this is also this is 4 1/2, so then it's scored right in the middle. Okay, our scoring is done. Hope everyone had a beautiful Friday. It was so warm today. It got up to just a ridiculous temperature, and it was just beautiful out. So that is something fabulous. Okay, so let me get my bone folder. I've totally rearranged my tools, so I have to sometimes stop and think where I put them. And I'm going to start by giving myself a really nice score mark on this. And then over here, this is going to go into the card like this, and then be folded in that Z fold like that. So I'm going to give these a really nice scoring as well. Sometimes when I cut my cardstock, I get a little bit of a lip on the side I cut it, and sometimes I just go over with my bone folder to make sure that lip isn't showing. Okay, so scoring is done. Now let's start with the card. We'll do any of our stamping afterwards. So I'm going to layer these 2 pieces of designer series paper on top of each other. And I'm going to make sure that I don't put any adhesive in the middle. So that is really important with this particular card design. And the main reason for that is that we need to be able to cut a hole here in the center. And so if I don't have if I have adhesive in here, then those pieces are going to stick together, and I want to use them for something else. I am also going to put this right on top of my basic thick white cardstock. So I'm just going to center that on. Then I'm going to pull out my stylish shape dies, and I'm not going to use the largest circle, but I'm going to use the second largest circle. And I am going to put that on to my front of my card, and I'm just going to eyeball it. I don't measure to make sure it is exactly in the center, so I just eyeball it. And what I like to do is to put a piece of washi tape, piece of Post-it, a Post-it note, or what I'm going to show you tonight is some Post-it note tape. And what I like about this is it works just like a Post-it note, but you don't waste your Post-it notes. You just are getting the sticky part. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to run it through my embossing machine. And then what I have for you is another card. It has a different piece of designer series paper on it, but I already ran it through the embossing machine, and what I have left are these 3 pieces, and I am going to use these. Now, you can save this larger white circle for later, or you could cut this out. I want this to be smaller because it's going to layer on this piece here. So I do want it to be smaller, but I could just use this to cut out a smaller, or I could save this for another project. What I've already done is I've cut out 2 of the circles. I went with the neck size and the size smaller because I wasn't sure which one I was going to use, but both of these will layer nicely on this circle, and the important piece is this will fit back in here, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to set that aside. The next thing I need, and I just wanted to show you what these 2 pieces of cardstock look like that I'm using on this card, the designer series paper, because you didn't get a chance to see that up close. All right, off to my next step. So I'm just going to give this a nice, okay, there we go with that. Now, the next thing I need to do is I'm going to use a bird from my designer series paper. And so I'm going to die cut that out. At the same time, I'm die cutting my circle. So as I said, in this set, we have a bird that you can stamp, or you can punch it out of the designer series paper. I'm going to punch it out of the designer series paper. And I'm going to line this up. Now, with my circle die, I don't often put a sticky note on it because I can see clearly where I'm putting it, and I can hold the plate down. On something like this, I definitely use some of my Post-it note tape. I don't need a lot, but I'm going to just hold that in place so that when I put it through the die cutting machine, it won't move and it will cut the bird out the way I want it. And just like a Post-it note, the Post-it note tape will not stick to your cardstock. And I have already cut the bird out just for, just to have it all ready. And I also cut out a crab, and I cut out a bunch of seashells, scallop shells, just in case I want to use it. So that's where we stand. Okay, now it's time to put this into my card. Before I do that, though, I want to add those 2 pieces of designer series paper. I wanted to keep the inside of this card Night of Navy, but I wanted it to have a little bit of sheen. So that's why I chose this piece of designer series paper, because it does have a little bit of sheen. It's still that beautiful Night of Navy color, but you've got that beautiful sheen on it. So it's going to add some interest inside the card. So I am going to add this right to my panel before I put it in. There we go. And then I'm going to be attaching it on the back of this piece here. So again, I'm going to put some adhesive, and I'm going to attach this and layer it right inside. And then I have that smaller piece of white cardstock. You would need a gel pen to write on the Night of Navy. So I have a little bit of basic white cardstock here that I'm going to just put in the middle. And this would allow me to write a nice message to whoever's going to receive this card. So there we go. There's the start of it. All right, and I'll decorate this in just a minute, but I want to get this next piece on. So I think what I am going to do is put my bird, so here's what it looks like on the larger circle, and here is what it looks like on the smaller circle. And I think, oh gosh, which one's going to look better? Let's just put this in. So I have that. You're going to see a lot of the designer series behind it, or I'm going to have this with less of the designer series, and the bird is going to fit on it pretty fully. I think I'm going to go with this one. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fold this up, and I am going to put this the way I want it to be. So it's going to look like this. And then what I'm going to do is I can see about how much this is going to need for some adhesive. So I'm going to go back, and I am just going to attach this in the center. So when I open it up, it's attached to the middle of my cardstock. Okay? So then what I am going to do is, I think I want to pop the bird up. So let me grab some dimensionals. And I'm just going to put a couple dimensionals on the back of the bird so I can pop it up. Maybe one more. I don't want it to squish down. But before I put this up, I am going to take some early espresso ink, and I am going to stamp some dirt on the bottom. And I'm going to stamp off first and then stamp on. I don't want this to be super dark. And I'm just going to go along and fill that in. There, so we have some little different bits of sand on this. Let me just close this up. And then I can take my bird, take off these dimensionals, the covering to the dimensionals, not the whole dimensional, and just drop these down. And I can put this on top of the sandy area. So it's going to look like this. Pretty cute. And then what I can do is add some dimensionals to the back of this. And I'm going to just take these off as well. And then I'm going to close this. And then this is going to go inside this circle. And that's what it looks like right now. And so when I open this up, I can pull it open like that. Okay. Now let's get a greeting on here. So let me take, I used the stylish shapes and cut out a banner. I can put the banner down here. I can have it right under. We'll decide that in a minute. And I'm going to use the Night of Navy ink. And I'm going to make this a thank you card. So I'm going to just ink it up and then just first try it on paper. It's pretty straight. And that is not pretty straight. So my I always want them to be kind of perfect. So let's there we go. That's much better. So let me just put that away. I'm going to put, I don't think I'm going to put dimensionals on this. I'm just going to attach it. And I'm going to attach it right down below this. And then I am going to, I think on the inside, add the little crab that I cut out. I think that would look good right there. There we go. Okay, now all I need to do is add, I'm going to put some, I don't think I'm going to put dimensionals on this. I'm just going to put some, I don't think I'm going to put dimensionals on. I'm just going to add a bow. I like when I use the twine to double knot it. I think it just gives it a little bit more flair. There we go. Just grab a pair of scissors to cut. And when I tie a bow on using this, right on the spool, I end up with very little scraps left of the ribbon. So that's why I do it that way. And I am going to, I think, put this right up in the corner here with a glue dot. And maybe trim that ribbon just a tad. There we go. And I think we are done. So here we have the aperture, meaning circle, and the inside of the card with the Z fold. And you can see the Z fold. Right here, it's still a card that will stand up, so you don't have to worry about that. And that is this week's Fun Fold Friday. And these are the two cards that I made using this Fun Fold technique. I hope that you've enjoyed this week's Fun Fold Friday. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for joining me and supporting my small business. I appreciate it. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.